Yeah. What I'm looking for is everybody's nervous. Whether it's virtual, we're all going to be virtual this year, of course.
Right.
Whether it's virtual or in person, everybody's nervous. Every candidate that we've interviewed, in our program's been, this is our 12th year. So, everybody brings those nerves to the table. But my thing, what I'm looking for is what kind of poise does the candidate have, during the interview. And I'm not saying it to be cool as a cucumber, but, how do they handle that? And what are their, communication skills at that point? How do they, we actually have a case presentation that we have the candidates present. I'm not looking for content at that point. My other clinical pharmacists will handle that. But what I'm looking for is, how are they verbally presenting the material? And how are they answering questions? Some candidates won't listen to the question, and they'll say the first thing that comes to their mind without pausing and making sure that they understand what's being asked of them. And then they will give answers to the wrong question that was asked. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's kind of a big issue. You have to make sure you understand the question, and don't be afraid to ask for clarification if you don't understand, the question that was posed to you. So that's, those are some of the surprising things, I guess, is, and my final thing that I typically tell students is come with a list of questions for the site prepared. That tells me a lot about candidates. It tells me that you've taken the time to investigate the site, that you have questions about, maybe a particular rotation, or you have questions about, what it would be like to do research at the organization. My favorite candidates actually come with questions about, what our pharmacy strategic plan is. Where are we growing? And my people in positions like myself and my director love questions like that, because we know that student has really investigated what where we want to grow as a department. So and that's on our website. So that's at least it tells me people have that the candidates have gone in and done their research.
I'm just looking to see how interactive the residents are, the candidates are, how interested they appear. It is something that tells me a little bit about that person, how considerate they are of the other candidates. Everyone that they interact with, we're all kind of looking to see how are they going to fit here at our institution? Are they going to be a good fit? And so just looking for those sorts of qualities.
I think it's really their personal it's not their personality. No, it's not their personality. It's more like their interaction. So their interaction with people, their interaction with the group. I think that kind of you get a much better vibe off of somebody and kind of figuring out, will they fit in with the dynamic of the group that we have? So, yes, we can certainly put people through different scenarios and ask them to talk about different things, but I really think it's what comes through in the presentation that you're not going to get on paper. And so I think it's, and I guess it's part of it too is, being polished and being prepared. I always, if I ask somebody, why do you want to do a residency? Or you ask like a question that you should know the answer to, or you should have expected. And they're kind of like, I hadn't really thought about that. You're like, okay. So I think to me, it's more of the do we jive type of thing. And that's probably the most important.
Yeah, so during the presentation, that's a great time to evaluate their presentation skills, but most importantly, how they present a patient, their pharmacotherapy knowledge. So sometimes that kind of lacks. So that's surprising sometimes. And then also with answering questions as far as program goals, it doesn't align all the time. So that's surprising as well, especially if they listed it in their letter of intent.
So what's the biggest turnoff for me? personally is when a student has no questions. To me, that just tells me that they're there to get done the interview, get it over with, and hope for the best. And that's really not the best way to approach it. And like I said, it's, we've had that experience, and I particularly watch for that. And then, when we have our meeting at the end, when all of our in-person interviews are conducted, and we're doing, we are beginning down the candidate selection and pathway and ranking, I do make note of that on, on the question sheet that we have. So
some easy fixes. They should appear interested. And, sit up straight. Posture is easy to fix, and eye contact, a nice smile, excited to be there. Those are things, if you're sleepy. And it is hard sometimes. We do have people that show up to interviews and they're really sick. So, and it's, you can tell they're just struggling to get through the interview, and we definitely take that into consideration because not everyone has a great day. Chewing gum, making sure your phone is off. Those are easy fixes to think about when you're coming to the interview. And having questions. You should always have questions to ask, even if it's the same question for every interviewer. Maybe you're looking to make sure we're all going to say the same thing or tell the same story.
Your distracting mannerisms, those things, like just those types of things jump out to people. I can't really say that I've had too many like horrible interviews where I'm like, oh yeah, I could talk about like pharmacy student interviews, but I do feel like by the time, getting towards resident, most people perform fairly well. And then I think the other thing that shows investment in knowledge and preparation are questions. And being prepared to ask questions. And so I think that that's sometimes where some people can shine, if they're able to have some insightful questions, or you can really identify that they can appreciate something to a bit of a different level.
Yeah, so, feedback that I've gotten from other residents is that, of course, they get too comfortable, especially in the sessions with our current residents. Although that's a time for them to be very candid and let them know about their experience, you still have to be professional. And then as far as questions, it may be nerves, but some people just don't have follow-up questions, which is kind of concerning, especially if you want to know more about the practice site. And I think you should have additional questions just because it's not always spelled out in our fact sheets or on our website. So that tells me that, you may not be as interested as you portray.